How's everybody doing? You know, just started out in my basement. You guys know it's my basement, right? My studio. I mean, I think that people realize that. Just me sitting there with the camera, talking to it, and there's all these people here. Kind of strange. Okay, so let's actually get to the point, because that's why you guys are here, to learn things. YouTube, as opposed to other social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, has paid out $100 billion to creators in the last 5 years. I just saw that, actually. Mr. Beast posted that on X the other day. $100 billion. That's insane, right? Do you know how much money I've made from Instagram? $1.53, I think. Yeah, made $1. I did. Actually made $1.53. Not enough to get coffee at Starbucks, but. And TikTok, 0. When I started on YouTube, I had probably about 4,000 subscribers about a month into my channel, and a guy wrote to me that had a YouTube channel with 47,000 followers. It was called, the channel was called Piano Around the World, and his name's Dotan. He used to drag a upright piano around. He'd go to Paris, and he'd just start playing in the middle of these cities. Anybody ever see his videos? So he had a couple viral videos on there, and my channel wasn't monetized or anything, and I was like, he's like, man, your channel's great. I love your videos. And I said, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah, what? I said, you got these videos with 3 million, 4 million views. How much money do you make on that? He goes, oh, you don't make money on YouTube. Which actually was not true. So, about probably 3 months into my channel, the rules were different then as far as how you get monetized on a YouTube channel. Now you need to have 4,000 hours, I think in a year's time, something like that, and 1,000 subscribers. And you would think that, oh, that's pretty easy to do. It's not easy to do. How many people in this room have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube? How many people have 10,000 subscribers? How many people have 100,000 subscribers? How many have 1 million subscribers? There's a reason that YouTube has an award at 100,000, because it's very difficult to get there. I always heard that the first 10,000 subscribers are the hardest to get. But it's very difficult to get to 1 million. You can get to 100,000, but to get to 1 million is really difficult, because you have to have content that is broad enough to appeal to a large number of people, right? But one of the things that I found when I started posting on my channel, I didn't think, people say, oh, Rick, you have this plan to do all this stuff, and I just make one video at a time. I think that both these guys will tell you the same thing when they talk about their experience. But my experience, I made one video at a time, and I made videos about things that I'm interested in. But I happen to be interested in a lot of different styles of music. I have an undergrad degree in classical bass. I have a master's degree in jazz guitar. So I love classical music, and I love jazz. But I also love rock music, and I love pop music, and I love all different types of rock, pop, soul, funk, R&B. I like all these different types of music. I also like and am an expert in sound recording in engineering, mixing, and because I've had to do all these types of jobs to make a living in the music business. When I was a college professor in 1987 at Ithaca College in upstate New York, after I finished my master's degree, my first year's salary was $18,000. I was a full-time, what was I? When you start out like as a lecturer, they say, but I was a full-time teacher there. Teaching guitar, teaching jazz improv, teaching arranging, conducting big band. That's what I did for 5 years. And then I got signed to a publishing deal with Polygram Publishing in 1992. And I tried to make it as a songwriter. Moved to New York City, went broke, moved back in with my parents. Broke at 32. Had quit my college teaching gig where I had benefits and everything. And I'm a broke musician. But what did my parents do? They were totally cool about it because they were always supportive. So I eventually moved to Atlanta in 1994. I started a band a couple years later after teaching 12,000 guitar lessons in a small music store over 5 years, and I learned thousands and thousands of songs. That was really the basis for my What Makes This Song Great series that I did. I got signed to a deal, we put out a record, and we got dropped a month after the record came out. Because the industry was consolidating, because our record with my band came out in 1999. It came out a month after Napster happened. Okay? Music industry peaked in 2000. And then I started producing bands in 1999. So as I start producing, I get some major label bands, and the budgets started to pay $350,000 for a record. Then 6 months later, it was like $250,000. Then it's 2 years later, it's like $50,000, and you got to record the whole thing and mix it yourself, and you have to help co-write the songs with the bands. And then the bottom fell out of that. My point to this is that all along the way, I learned to be an expert by asking questions, by reading manuals, by working on all different styles of music, and learning what makes them interesting. Now, when I saw Tim on YouTube in 2013, 2014, whenever it was, I looked at Tim and I was like, there's an expert. There's a guy that I have tremendous respect for, who's playing I love, who's an expert not only at playing guitar, but at sound. And to me, this was like, oh, YouTube's a legitimate place for people to make videos, to teach on, because of Tim. When I saw Mateus on Instagram in 2015, I started following him, and I had 100 followers on Instagram. I was like, this kid's amazing, phenomenal guitar player. Not only is he a phenomenal guitar player, but what he posted on Instagram was incredible. He had a concept. Every video had an arc to it, had a story. It also had a visual component to it that was incredibly compelling. He's a good-looking guy here. So, this is my experience. I learn from everybody that I see. If I see something interesting, I'm like, ooh, I got that. What say you, Tim?
Thanks for having me, Rick.
Thank you.